Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold, while I hoard internet cringe. Believe me when I say that a lot of the nerds in the world wish that they could spend all of their time playing role-playing games. I know I would. But unfortunately, the air might get kinda spicy if all the people working at the nuclear reactors decided to skip work to play Lost Mines of Phandelver. The death of most campaigns come from when adult responsibilities decide to do what adult responsibilities do and get in the way of the things that you would rather be doing. So, when a player skips a session with the expressed intention of returning, you had better thank God, Allah, the Emperor of Mankind, or whoever you prayed to that it was only one session that they missed. What you don't do is use their absence to guarantee that they regret coming back. The story I have for you today stars a player who dares to miss one of his DM sessions, only to find out that pretty much everything involving his character has been thrown in the trash bin. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPG horror stories. Enjoy. This week's story comes from Reddit user Thyrakia and is titled, "My character was killed while I was away, but wait, there's more!" This was a few years ago. Pre-pandemic days, if you can believe it, so I'm a little foggy on some details. I'll be using silly names for anonymity's sake and to help keep my spirits up, as this story is still a bit of a sore spot for me. Trigger warning for brief mention of SA. Here is our cast. Nobble. A little cold to start with, but seemed fine after a bit. The DM. Tiffy. Generally kind, but can get a little emotional about her characters. Plays a tiefling monk whose wife was kidnapped. Bongo. Pretty chill. Plays a warlock cursed with a magical disease. Rhombus. Had his head in the clouds a little, but a good player. Plays a dragonborn wizard-like class, some kind of homebrew investigator. I think there was another one or two players, but they aren't central to the conflict, so it's not super important. Some background. I was also running a game for the group, including the DM Nobble. This was all over Discord in Roll20 because I'm in a different time zone. I am a forever DM, so I was pretty excited when I got the chance to finally play. I rolled up an assassin rogue who was brainwashed by a cult as a teenager and used as an assassin against his small village home. The cult had been wiped out, and he had been wandering for a bit before he came back to his senses, on the other side of the world from his tiny village, with almost no memory of what had happened while he was brainwashed. He's convinced that he probably killed several of the people in his village while he was being controlled by the cult, and he fully blames himself. Simply put, simple farm boy to brainwashed assassin to guilt-ridden wanderer who just wants to help. So here's the story. The first few sessions go mostly without issue, as we escort a princess NPC who was captured by a powerful fae back to her family. As we escort her, we learn that she's been gone for a while, and that she's a little uncertain if she wants to return as she didn't care for politics, and would probably be married off to a rival kingdom to keep the peace. My character, being a farm boy, didn't understand the big picture, and was more concerned with what the princess herself wanted, so they got along well. When the time came to leave the princess with her family, the party had decided that helping her would be too much of a risk and she wasn't sure she wanted to escape. She gave him a flower. I'm pretty sure there was a romance option there, but as my character was a farm boy who, 1, didn't feel like he deserved a happy relationship because of his guilt, 2, was lured into the brainwashing cult by his first crush, and 3, was implied to have been SA'd by the demon/fallen angel the cult had been devoted to, he naturally, politely declined, which the DM Nobble didn't seem to like much, and the princess turned cold. DM Nobble later mentioned that it was a big social faux pas to decline a gift in that part of the world, and seemed to expect me to know that. Thing is, this is a completely homebrew world, and though the others had played a full campaign in it, I had only been playing in this game about 3 to 4 sessions at this point, and even if I knew that, there's no way my farm boy from the other side of the world would know. Things seem to have calmed down a bit after that though. And even though I was disappointed to have lost a roleplay opportunity, I was still excited for the rest of the game, and what it would bring. I had a couple of cool moments where my character stealthily killed a couple of enemies from the outside of a moving train, and made friends with an imprisoned person who had a much more progressed version of Bongo's character disease, which brought more roleplay opportunities, yay! Things seemed fine for a bit, and my character was even getting to know Tiffy's character, who was starting to let down her walls. Her character was afraid of men, I can't remember why. Alas, it was not to last, and as we were traveling on a country road, we came across some nasty monsters towards the end of a session. Because a couple of us were going to be away, DM Noble said that the next game would be an RP-only session, and would be different characters in a historical setting. Neat! Unfortunately, the night before the game day, one of my friends was feeling pretty awful, and I stayed up a bit late comforting them, and didn't wake up in time for the game. I figured it wouldn't be an issue, seeing as it wasn't a super important session and half of us were away anyway. But boy, was I wrong. DM Noble last minute decided that she wanted to work out some frustration with combat, and switch back to the main game with only 2 of the 5 players. And when I woke up, different time zones remember, I was told that my character had been killed. Great. Okay, so we already knew that this was gonna happen based on the title, but if I told you that I slashed your tires, that's not gonna make it easier to drive to work, now is it? Now, I haven't read the rest of the story yet, but no matter what the DM's reasoning is gonna be, it is still gonna be a dick move. Yes, it's true that a well-placed character death can do wonders for the overall story, but the story is not the top priority of a D&D group. I mean, it's up there for sure, but it's miles below having fun on the hierarchy here. Killing off a character when their player isn't there is pretty much the same thing as saying, "You step on a pressure plate in the floor. You explode and coat the walls in your guts. No, you don't get a save, f*** you." Because they don't get any say in the matter in either scenario. When a player is absent, a decent DM will choose one of 3 options. Option 1. The plot contrivance god reaches down from the sky, grabs the absent PC by the neck, yeets them into the ether, while the world develops amnesia, forgetting that the missing PC even existed. Where did the paladin go? He was right here. We had a paladin? When did we get a paladin? What's a paladin? Of course, this only lasts until the player returns and then magically everyone remembers that the character exists. This option is ideal for lazy so naturally it's the one I use the most often. Option 2. The PC drops everything that they were doing and heads back to camp. They're just so damn worried about the horses that they just stopped mid-boss fight and sprinted full speed back to the stable, just to make up some kind of reason for the PC to exist somewhere else independent of the party. The cleric or paladin could have some special religious obligations, the warlock could be kidnapped by their patron, the bard could be trying to cope with the fact that they're playing a bard, and so on and so forth. Option 3. The PC does their best impression of a bread tube viewer and stands there slack-jawed and drooling without a thought behind their glazed eyes. Basically, it's like a mix of being AFK and being an NPC. The DM might take control of them, or maybe another player might be tasked with playing 2 characters. Mostly for the sake of combat encounters, though. Role-playing 1 character is hard enough. Now you gotta do 2, and one already has a pre-existing personality that's different from your own character. This is mostly done for the sake of combat encounters, because balancing is a bitch. If prodded, the absent PC might be bothered to cast a spell or 2, or maybe swing a sword a few times. For the most part, though, they just kinda go blank for a bit. It's a very bad idea to have major consequences happen to a PC that wasn't there to have any agency in said consequences. Let me tell ya, I am not looking forward to seeing what happened to this poor farm boy. I'm pretty averse to conflict and didn't want to lose the only game I was playing in, so I tried to look past it, hoping that the DM would have a plan to bring me back, maybe even adding to the story. I was almost right. The The DM brought all the characters into a weird pocket dimension with the world's trickster god there? To clarify, my character's backstory had no connection to the trickster god, only to the demon/fallen angel that the cult was devoted to. The trickster god asked if my character thought he deserved to live. Now, a couple of things go through my head. 1. My character still hasn't overcome his guilt. It's been like 6 sessions tops, and there hasn't been any story around my character yet. And 2, this was a trickster god. Who knows what he would do if I say yes, or what he'd do if I said no, or if what I said would even matter. My character, remember a farm boy who hasn't seen much magic, let alone a god, answers with a nervous, non-committal, I don't know. Apparently, that's not good enough, and the trickster god sends us back, and while I'm brought back to life, I only have a few hours to live. Well, maybe we could still salvage it. We rush to the nearest people we think that can help, some witches. But they say they can't do anything, and my character dies. Again, with no chance to do anything. Then the trickster god comes back and tells me that, in no uncertain terms, that my whole backstory is a lie, and that it was all implanted into my brain by him. There was no cult, no assassinations, and no satisfactory resolution. Just, ooh, it was all a dream. Naturally, I wasn't super happy about this. Shortly after the session, the DM left the chat. And because I can be a bit shy and the DM Noble could be pretty staunch, I asked the other players who knew her better than I did how best to approach the situation. They didn't really have any advice, so I just decided to sleep on it and talk to Noble in the morning. Overnight, news of my dissatisfaction made its way to Noble, and I woke up to a message from her accusing me of gaslighting her friends, banning me from the chat, and blocking me before I could respond. That did not feel great, as not only had I lost the only game I was playing in, but I also lost all the players who were also playing in my game, which I had put a lot of effort into making for them. And they were like 90% of my friends at the time. They were unwilling to let me back into the group, but I still wanted to know what I did wrong so I could at least be better in the future. Tiffy was the only one from the group who had not blocked me. So I apologized and asked what exactly as I had done, as Noble was pretty vague. But Tiffy was just as vague and then blocked me shortly after. I am autistic, so I'm not the most socially adept. But I really don't see what I did wrong, if anything. It hardly matters now, especially after how long it's been. But I suppose it's worth chucking an AITA at the end here? Hope you guys at least got some entertainment out of this nonsense. TLDR, my character was killed while I was away. The DM completely invalidated my backstory and then accused me of gaslighting, before kicking me when I tried to talk to them about it. End of story. Oh my god! Okay, yeah, killing a PC while the player is gone is already pretty bad, but killing a player, pseudo-reviving them, and then rewriting their whole ass backstory right in front of them is a completely new way to be an asshole. This is the reason why I think backstories should be a two-person job, between the DM and the player. The player does most of the legwork, what with the name, background, personality, and stuff. But the DM can help provide context with existing characters, locations, and rules of the world that they've created and help make sure that the character fits. What they don't do is retcon the entire backstory on a whim for the sake of the story that they think will be good. Now, I will say that it's a little bit suspicious that the entire group just went nuclear on OP for seemingly just the crime of missing one session. There's a little part of my gut that thinks that OP is leaving something out, but of course I can't prove that. I can only go off of what's in the story, and what's in the story is a really bad DM. The DM has near absolute control over everything except the player's backstory. And to take that teeny tiny little bit of world building that the player gets away from them, yeah, that's a no-go from me, champ. Off to the mandatory DM re-education gulag for you. Consider it an act of community service. Speaking of communities, we got a fan art submission this week. Let's take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake. This week's fan art comes from viewer Dr. Liam and depicts a weapon forged for the gods themselves. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you know that I'm a bit of a firearm connoisseur, and I wouldn't add anything less than perfection to my collection. Does it take high-capacity magazines? Of course. Is it an unregistered machine gun or explosive device? ¿Por qué no los dos? Do I give a damn if it pisses off Uncle Sam? Absolutely not. Freeze! You're under arrest for the possession of a high-capacity assault clip. Try it, Boy Scout. I'm packing enough firepower to make Waco look like a f***ing joke. Wait, what the hell is that? Would you believe me if I told you it was a really cool Pez dispenser? Oh man, I really wanted to murder someone for not following the laws we made up this morning. I guess I'll just...
Will you two shut up? I'm trying to take a nap in the break room.
Oh my god, is that a dog? What? No, it's my kobold employee. Close enough. Thank you again, Dr. Liam, for submitting your art. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon and merchandise links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake.